Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Jamerson, coming to you from Ashley Lambert Realty. I have been a licensed North Carolina real estate agent since 2006, so I like to say that I have seen it all and have talked to so many different personality types when it comes to buying a first home or a move-up home, or if you were even gifted a home, selling that home, buying a new one. I feel like I've seen it all, but the question that I always get, no matter what, when they're buying a home is, what is the first steps? Like, what do I need to do to get this house? And I always say, you must get approved. But that's no longer and really has never been enough when it comes to being a knowledgeable, prepared home buyer, especially in this market. So let's hop into it. I'm going to give you some reasons, some examples, and I'm going to let you decide if you want just an approval letter or this other magical document that comes with the approval letter that makes the home buying process so much smoother. So yes, getting an approval letter is the very first step. That means that you have given the lender, or 2 or 3 or more lenders, access to your credit, your income, your debt to income ratio. You've answered all of their questions and you are super approved, not just pre-qualified. So there is a difference there. And I have a video about that because I've been in this for a while. What's this other thing that you need? So you get your approval letter and it basically tells you like, hey, Mr. Jon Snow, you are prepared financially to purchase a home that is $800,000 in the greater northern gates of Huntersville, right? So you get this approval letter and you're like, Ashley, let's go look at property. I'm approved for $800,000. I'm so excited. I'm going to get me a little mini mansion, right? Well, it used to be a mini mansion. Now it's just a regular house. You give me this approval letter and I sort of pause the brakes on scheduling anything and I ask you a few questions. And your answers to those questions help me determine whether or not you received this other document or if you've had like a more in-depth conversation with the lender. So I say, well, how much cash do you have to bring to closing? They're like, well, I don't know. I'll say, what's your mortgage going to look like at $800,000? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, so we need to find those answers out. And so you find those answers out by asking your lenders, 2 or 3 or more, for an itemized fee sheet, which can also be called an estimated cash to close worksheet, a fee worksheet. If you say any type of combination of those words, any lender will know what you're talking about. And this worksheet is super important because it tells you the answers to those questions. It'll have your purchase price, your sales price, what the big number is that we're looking for. It'll tell you what your total loan amount is after your down payment is made. So whether that's 3.5%, 5%, 10%, 20% or more, it'll tell you what your loan amount is, which is the purchase price minus that amount. It'll tell you your interest rate. That interest rate is not locked in until I find you a home. So today, the interest rate might be 6.25%, but when we lock in, we can praise God that your interest rate will now be 6 or will be 5.85, just depending on, the market as well as where you buy. If you buy existing versus new construction, if there's seller credits. And so we have your interest rate. Then we have your term and your type. I'm always looking for a fixed rate. I know that a lot of people will say, well, you have more purchasing power if you have an ARM. But in my opinion, I like my budget to pretty much be the same. I like to know my payment will be this amount today and it'll be this amount in 7 years, ignoring taxes increasing and insurance increasing, but pretty much it'll be around this. I don't need it going up a whole point or two within 7 years. So if an ARM is your thing, by all means do it. I look for fixed, and if someone brings me an ARM worksheet, I'll say, how can we see this as a fixed rate so we can compare? It'll also give an estimate of what the taxes are for a specific city. So Charlotte taxes is a little bit higher than Huntersville taxes. Troutman versus Mooresville, Union County versus Cabarrus. Sometimes affordability can come down to a city or town. So keep that in mind, and that estimated worksheet will have that for you. It'll have it broken down, and then sometimes I'll say, hey, you can buy a better house in Salisbury. How do you feel about Salisbury, right? It'll list all the fees that, and it's estimate, so it's ballpark, and usually an estimated fee sheet is going to be like a higher estimate, so worst case scenario. It'll have all of the fees that are associated with obtaining that loan. So it'll have your closing costs, like your attorney fees, your recording fees, your doc prep fees, your mortgage insurance, premiums, your prepaids for homeowners insurance, your prepaids, which is escrows and things like that for taxes. It'll have all that listed out there. It may even have some prorations listed out there. Insurance is something that you can shop for, so you can finagle that amount when it comes to your mortgage, but at least you have something to rock with, something to compare it to, something to work with. This worksheet will also let you know of any fees that are associated with you obtaining down payment assistance or any type of grants. So you'll be able to see, and I'll even show you an example of a buyer that I had a few years ago. We were trying, or she was trying to decide if taking the down payment assistance was worth it today, and is it worth it later when she's paying that monthly mortgage. And that's just a thought process that goes through when you have this approval for $800,000 and then you have this itemized fee sheet. It'll also let you know what your total estimated closing cost is. So do you have that money is the question. Do you have that money, that cash to close, that bottom line number? Do you have it? If the answer is yes, awesome, great. Well, where is it? Is a good one. Is it like 401k? Is it mattress money? Which I've had that happen to me before, where they had thousands of dollars underneath their mattress and they were going to use that to buy a house, and we had to pump the brakes because it had to be seasoned and sourced. So yeah, we had to pump the brakes for a few months on that one. Are you getting that money as a gift? So I've had people say, I don't have 30,000, I have 20, my parents are giving me 10 as a wedding gift. So with this loan type, I need to ask the lender on my buyer's behalf, do some directing, and I need to say, what do you need from this gifter so that my client can get this money without causing problems with the loan? Other than the gift letter that says this money is a gift, I don't expect any money in return, it's a true gift. So other than this letter, are you going to need that gifter's bank statements, all pages, to show that money in there, living, breathing, and then moving out? What's the best way? Are we going to move that money from the gifter to my client, the buyer, and then bring it to closing? Or is that gifter going to send the money straight to the attorney? This sheet, this itemized fee sheet, estimated closing worksheet, this sheet will help me prepare the whole training caboose, the whole train track, to make sure that I'm showing you a property you can afford in an area that you can afford. You have the money to close on it when we get to the closing table. The money is sourced properly, coming from wherever correctly to the closing table. But the biggest thing that causes people's heads to spin, especially now, is the monthly payment. So they'll say, yes, I'm approved for $800,000. And then they will see that their monthly mortgage payment is around $5,500, $6,500. And they're like, I don't want to pay that. Not because they don't have it. They approved for it. They have the income, the debt to income ratio, the credit score, all that stuff, right? It's just that paying that much per month towards a home may negatively affect another part of their life. So let's say they like to go on 3 vacations a year, and they know those 3 vacations a year cost approximately X amount of money. Paying that mortgage may directly affect their vacations. Do they want to give up 3 great vacations and maybe do 1 great vacation, or 3, 6, 7 Vacations, so that's a lifestyle choice they have to decide. Is this house, is having this $800,000 house worth it? If the answer is no, if you get to this point, you get your approval letter and you get your itemized fee worksheet, closing cost form in your hand, and you're going through it and you're like, I don't like that mortgage amount. The next conversation you should be having is with the lender, and you say, I don't really want to pay $6,500 a month to live here in this house. I don't want to look for a home. What does a mortgage around $4,500 look like? Like, what's that purchasing power? And then they'll come back and they'll say, well, around like 550, 575, whatever. I'm just pulling numbers, but you can see there's a difference between 800,000 and 575. They'll redo the approval letter. You can get 800. So if you found a house that was like 700 or 650 and you're like, Ashley, this one right here is like a dream maker type house, then by all means. But then you have this other number and this other approval letter and this other itemized fee sheet that answers all of your questions as well. And you can find a house that makes you just as happy. You might find that diamond in the rough at this other purchase price, like $575. Now, the thing that I run into when people do such a drastic change in purchase price is that they expect to get $800,000 fixings inside of a house that's $575. Those are definitely two nice homes, but they're different fixings. You're going to get different neighborhood amenities. You're going to get different yard size. You're going to get different interior finishes, exterior finishes. So you have to keep that in mind as well, because you're paying for it, right? You're rolling it into this big number. You get your approval letter. Great, awesome, fantastic. Get that itemized fee sheet, because it'll answer all of those questions for you, and it'll help make sure that you are comfortable with that big number being your monthly mortgage. So you have to be comfortable today at $800. You have to be comfortable with tomorrow, which is your closing costs. And then you have to be comfortable next year and the years to follow with that mortgage. Okay. Another big pro to getting this itemized fee sheet, I mentioned that I have my clients talk to like 2, 3 or more lenders, and they all get this approval sheet, and they all get their approval letter, and they all get this itemized fee sheet. What do we do with that, right? I use this as a moment to test communication, because again, my purpose in this whole transaction is to make sure it goes smoothly and without a lot of stress. So if I'm communicating with the lenders and asking them questions, is it taking me days? Is it taking my client days to get this information or to get the answers to our questions? We don't like that. Like, the market is slow, but you shouldn't be moving slow as a lender, in my opinion. That's a little bit of a rant. But anyway, so I'm testing communication. I also want to know if the lender is willing to help my client craft the best loan for them. So I have a really good example I'm going to show you. They sent an approval letter and a fee sheet for what the loan would look like with down payment assistance and what it would look like without down payment assistance. Breaking it down. The number today stayed the same because it was the cost of the house. The deposit wasn't going to change because it was new construction, but it was how is she going to use down payment assistance on top of the credits that were given by the seller/builder in this situation, and what does her bottom line look like? In one situation, she was bringing over $6,000 to closing. The other one, she was getting like a $2.17 check. I believe that's how much it was back at closing. What's the difference moving forward, like in the future? The difference is about, I think it was like $80, $100 a month was the difference. The interest rate was a little bit higher, but we're looking at that mortgage. The mortgage shifted. So I'm going to show you guys those examples. An approval letter is not enough. You have to make sure that you are looking at the itemized fee sheet. You are gathering all of the fee sheets from all of the lenders that you have been speaking with. You get with me to clarify some questions. We get with the lender to clarify questions that I can't answer. And then we have a really good roadmap to not only finding you a great home, but making sure you get the best loan, that I'm asking for enough money in seller paid closing cost concessions, things like that. I want to make sure that I'm bringing that bottom line number down as well. And some loans, some programs out here don't allow you to ask for too much money. Like there's a certain percentage. So knowing that about any specific buyer, I need to know, this is a lot, right? I need to know how much to ask for. Again, to craft the best loan. I, as the real estate agent, am the constructor of the symphony. Okay, my client has the beautiful voice, the beautiful solo type thing, and then we have the building, which is the lender, because they have to give the money, and we got to find a house with all the fixings. Those are all the beautiful instruments that we can place in the home. That's my analogy. That's what I'm going to rock with. Okay. So let me show you some of these examples. You're going to be very, very interested. So the very first example that I have, you got to excuse the writing on this one because I have to blank out my client's information for privacy reasons. So you have to excuse me. And I'm looking at like 2 screens right now. So this one was really cool because this was a fixed rate loan, 30 years fixed. Loan amount was $275, and then the down payment was $15,000. And then when we get on to page 2, it shows that there are some credits coming from, I believe, the seller. And so that's calculated in there. And then when we get on to page 3, it actually has it has a total monthly payment, and then it has the cash from borrower. So the question, are you cool with $2,446 a month? And this was a VA fixed rate back in 2022, 5.375. And do you have this money, this $10,000? Do you have it? The first page is really wanky. Oh no, I do see it, other credits. So that is including the credits. So that's that example. I'm really not sure what lender this is, but this is another estimated fee sheet. This is for a 30-year fixed FHA loan for $457, interest rate 5.875, and it is a fixed rate. And again, it's going to have the total monthly payment. Are you cool with paying $3,571? Awesome. Total cash to close for this borrower for buying this home is $121,475. Yes, you heard me right. $121,475. And then the mortgage. Okay? They had to be okay with both those numbers. Do they have the 6 figures in the bank? Yes or no? If it's yes, awesome, great. Make sure it's sourced and seasoned. And if it's not, where is it coming from? Let's get those gift letters. We're ahead of the ball right now. You don't ever want to fall behind the ball because so many things can happen in real estate when things don't close on time. Another example is this one. Oh, this was a good interest rate. This is an FHA loan back in 2022, 3.875. This is probably a newer one. One thing I want to point out on this one is that in red it says attorney and attorney fees to be finalized. So this is just an estimate when it comes to these attorney fees. But again, the estimates is something to work with. That's what an estimate is, a placeholder, as you may, a realistic placeholder. And sometimes these fees are different depending on where you're recording it, how big of a search you have to do. If the home already had title insurance, they can like sort of piggyback off that title search and title insurance and things like that. So that can make things cheaper. But you're also going to be looking at these fees, the inspection fees, the appraisal fees, and you'll see the amount there. Some of these fees are paid for outside of closing, before closing, and non-refundable if it doesn't close. And some things are paid at closing. So it's good to know that. But this borrower here was bringing $10,300. Oh my eyes, terrible. $10,300 and something. I'm getting old. They're bringing $10,000 plus to closing. Do they have that? And then their mortgage is $1,900 and some money. Because I can't see Let me see if I can make this bigger. $1,956.59. That's how much it is. This one was a little bit easier to swallow because it's 2022. It's when interest rates and home prices were amazing for everybody. This is the example I definitely wanted to speak about. So in this particular loan, this home buyer was purchasing new construction, and the new construction builder seller person was giving a lot of money. I think like $15,000, which is a lot of money when the purchase price is $245, right? So in this example, her interest rate, this is without receiving down payment assistance. This is just her own coin, her own savings, which she had. She had to decide if she wanted to take a 6.25% interest rate and pay $1,940. And then you can see all the estimated fees and things here. This included the seller builder credits of $11,465 and then $3,000 from the lender. So it was close to 15, but again, I mentioned before, you can't go over a certain amount of money when it comes to like gifts and credits and things like that. So long story short, her deposit was $2,000, which became a credit to her cash to close, and then her cash to close was $6,742 and some change. Okay, so she had this. She could have totally have done this option A, and her mortgage would have been $1,940. Or this is with down payment assistance. Or she could have taken an interest rate of 7%. Her mortgage would have went up to $2,006, basically $2,007. Little small difference. I think I said earlier 80, way less than that. Okay, and then you can see here that the seller is given the same credits and she has the same deposit. However, down here we have a subordinate financing a second mortgage. This is down payment assistance in the amount of $15,000. Taking this option, yes, her interest rate's a little bit higher, but it's fixed. Her mortgage is a little bit higher, like $20, $30 higher. And then she's leaving the closing table with $12. That's a quick sandwich from Arby's. Knowing this, she can make an educated decision about the loan she wants to marry. And then she can also make a good decision on if she wants to use the down payment assistance or not. And this is across the board. Every price range, you should always have an approval letter, which is just that. It approves your income. It approves your debt to income ratio, your credit score, your employment. It approves you. But you have to approve that loan for your life, okay? Like, I could not imagine, they call it house poor, is when you have this amazing house and it has everything in it that you want and you can't go nowhere. And I'm a homebody / creature of habit, meaning when I leave the house, I'm going to the same places. Homebody, creature of habit, I do the same trips a lot. I needed a balance. And that's what you're looking for when you're buying a house. You don't want to be house poor. You want to be very, very knowledgeable, and I'm here to help you. So I hope you found that information very, very useful. And if you are thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to the Charlotte, North Carolina area, I cover Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Gaston, and Union counties. I would love to be your real estate agent. All of my contact information has been popping up sporadically on the screen, but you can find that neatly down in the description below. And I would love to chat with you. If you have any questions, you want to start this home buying process, I am your lady. Until the next video, guys. Bye.